Unless they're hiding something from Setsu. This does have the feel of your last day, doesn't it? That Levi maybe uncovered something in the scan and she's dying or something. They're dying or something. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with some Gnosia. It's been a week, and the show is back again, so we're back again. We come back as we normally do, with notes, comments, and a board, so let's go ahead and hit up that board first off. Where for Loop 14, I have marked Otomi and Gina as the Gnosia. I marked Yuriko and Otomi as frozen. I marked Rakio as eliminated, because of course they were. I marked Chipe as the engineer. And I guess I didn't put anything down for Gina. Just the weird element here. I guess technically I should mark her as eliminated. Because she's dead and eliminated. I'm assuming she's dead. She's floating off into space. We got the low oxygen alarm and everything. And presumably no one's going to rescue her. So, and eliminated is our generic killed thing. Even though, technically now thinking about it, we kind of covered that cyberization or whatever is essentially what the Gnosia do, and that's not really the same thing as being killed. I mean, they're implying that. I'll get into that when I get to the notes. Food for thought, but I guess I should mark Gina as eliminated. Anyway, that is the board, so on to notes. Just a funny random overlap. Those of you that would have checked out the channel at the normal Gnosia release time will have seen that I chose to watch a random OVA the week that Gnosia was on break. And by random, I mean random. I spun a random anime selection wheel for 20-ish minutes till it landed on an OVA that was greater than 20 minutes long, not a music video, not a hentai, not G-rated, etc. What I landed on ended up having a character voiced by, sorry, I never said her name before, Maya Sakamoto, the same voice actor that voiced Jiu, Gina's mom, this episode. Of course, we've heard her plenty on the channel before. Hitome in Vision of Escaflowne, Reika in Razaphon, Lunamaria in Gundam Seed, Lao Si in Die Buster, Ron Shi in Across Frontier, Liza in Maiden Abyss, Anarose in Legend of the Galactic Heroes Die No These, Moranjo in Ranking of Kings, Julia in Full Metal Alchemist, The Sacred Star of Milos, and of course is the singer in the opening songs to anime, like Lesson's favorite, Triangular in Across Frontier. And again, those are just the ones we've watched on the channel, not including stuff I've seen on my own already. So yeah, she's an old hat to the channel. I just thought it was funny that I just random rolled for 20 minutes, and literally a character that appeared last episode, voiced by, anyway, you get the point. I suppose the opening shot doesn't mean much in the way of Gina misidentifying some random woman as her mother. Kids do that. My mom would tell stories of me doing that to random men as a kid, thinking that they were my dad. That's just a normal thing. My main two takeaways were that she has a sense of abandonment from her mother because she said she'd be with her forever, having clearly already fallen prey to the church, as a flyer of some sort tumbles out of her bag, with a symbol of the ship and everything. And the second being that her love for that one kind of food, I forgot the name, apologies, comes from her mother, I would think, as she also had a box of it in her bag too. Unless that was just a treat that she bought for her daughter, knowing she already liked them, in which case it would just be a fond memory. Obviously not so much. Well, I'm going to keep that. Let's just keep that. Fond memory. I'm not really a fan of the shower scenes for the sake of comedy or ecchi stuff. Ecchi stuff. Like, was Otomi's plan to just shout stuff through the walls? She could have waited till they were both out of the shower, especially when she later tells Yuri that she can wait. I mean, they are both Gnosia, and this is post-vote / pre-warp, meaning an upcoming unlimited time freeze would give them all the time in the world to chat in. The only thing I could glean from the scene is that Gina isn't covered in bruises or scars, so no physical abuse is likely. I'm often reminded of a shower scene in the show 86, where one of the characters that tended to be more upbeat and centering for everyone gets shown in the shower, and the point of the scene is to hint at the fact that she has a slur against her people carved into her back in the form of a scar, to imply what she's gone through despite her outward appearance. That's the kind of thing you use scenes like this for, not a, well, they're going through some emotional turmoil, good time to show them naked shtick. I still think it's a mistake to keep telling people that you have the silver key. You know, that Setsu is an ally overall, as the other key holder. But what if someone else were hiding the fact that they had a key? Someone that's not an ally. Someone that just wants to spread chaos. I mean, something is clearly up with Manon, for example, and her ability to put her consciousness back into a clone body. What if she got her hands on a silver key? Can you imagine the sadistic fun she'd get up to finding new ways to torture Yuri across an infinity of timelines? The times that she'd inhabit SQ anyways? It's not something you could ever take back either. Once a party with a key finds out, that's information that they'd have from every loop going forwards. Not for nothing, the key also doesn't seem to care about how pleasant any of the loop goes for you. Just what the loop has new information in it. Maybe 1,000 loops of torture is going to be all new information for your key, and you telling a murderous psychopath with a time loop ability that you are in it with them is just the right opening it would need to start pairing your loops up with theirs. Even if all of you say there's no such person or a third key, it doesn't matter. Yuri doesn't know that, and if there is any percent chance he could think it would be possible, then it's too large a risk to take. Cyberization means not dying, but only your soul remains. I think I mentioned before, and forgive me if I'm rehashing since it's been 2 weeks since my last recording, my favorite book, Eon by Greg Bear, which features a city that the entire human race lives in, Axis City, where space is at a premium, so only the most important people to the city's well-being are allowed to have physical bodies. Everyone else is stored in the city memory in a matrix-like state, but they can also interact with the real world as ghosts, like holographic images of themselves. That's what cyberization sounds like to me, at least from the perspective of what the church might be doing. Ironically, also in Eon, there's a race called the Jart that kinda sorta do what the Gnosia do, just without the Among Us aspect, as the Jart's goal is to collect all information there is to collect on everything before the death of the universe. So it wouldn't surprise me to find out down the road that the Gnosia are actually cyberizing people and storing their data for later use in some larger goal, and that from the outside, it just looks evil. Not a great play by Atomi. On day 1, they were suggesting that the engineer should out themselves, then on day 2 says that they are the engineer, with no cover of I was trying to out the Gnosia on day 1 by making them claim to be my role, or anything like that. Makes them automatically suspicious to anyone that can remember what's been said. I guess maybe the reason they took out Rockio, now that I think about it. Stella jumping in with doesn't this mean 2 out of the 3 must be Gnosia is a pretty far leap in my opinion. For one thing, not knowing what's going on, it should seem impossible for 2 Gnosia to try and claim the same role, as they ought to be working together in a way that the rest of the crew just cannot do. Another thing is that people can just randomly be stupid. I'd put my money on someone just making a stupid mistake before I would the Gnosia doubling down on a role. I didn't add this to my notes about the characters on the board, that little upper section that has all of my specific character thoughts. But does Otomi only have teeth when they're the Gnosia? Or am I just noticing them when she is the Gnosia? I wonder if Levi is taking different routes in different timelines. Like, this is our 14th day too, and this is the first time we've run into this field. At the same time, is Levi taking the same path every time, and this field is just a random result of the timeline shifts? Something that happened in this timeline to cause this to happen, where it typically doesn't? And my final note, I guess from the perspective of the harem commentary I must have given about the show at some point, to some degree, I guess it makes sense. This is a show about looping through time and experiencing every possibility and learning from it. These are all different experiences after all. Plus, I imagine the game must have had a romance option, so this is obviously a chance to see all of those romance options fulfilled in a way that doesn't lock down any specific character choice. If you were like, I don't know. If you were playing like a Mass Effect game, right, you can have a selection of characters that you can fall in love with, right? If you're making a Mass Effect show, you're either going to choose to only show on the show a canon thing, right? You determine what's canon in your show, or you find a way to have all the romance options so that no one's choice seems. But then again, I guess that's a bad example because you would also need a male shepherd and a female shepherd. I'm not going to get into how I would make the Mass Effect show. Obviously, it's not where I meant to go on that one. Anyway, those were my notes, and as I said, we have comments from the typical people that give us walls of comments. All right, first up, we got JL from Alacosia. Yes, it's that time again. Going to try and not comment on every little thing this time. I think I got out of hand these last 2 episodes. I should note that I believe that this is your longest note to date, so clearly that didn't work. Before I start, I'll say that Gina's mother is credited at the end as GU, though she isn't named in the episode. This is new info to the anime. She wasn't named in the game. Well, as I already stated, I know that in advance because of the element of the voice actor, which I referenced already. Why does Remnen not run screaming from SQ? So, good question, honestly. Before the anime, we never actually saw Manon, or Manon's other spare bodies. I don't think the word clone is ever used to describe them. I forgot if the anime did. Just rewatched episode 11 with a friend. At the end, Yuri does say they found SQ among all the clones, except they don't say clones in Japanese. So a lot of people were surprised to find out that Manon's spares looked identical to Manon. Manon's spares looked identical to Manon. I think you mean SQ. I think you meant to put SQ there. And each other, like that in the cube tubes, they were kept in. So I don't know, maybe Remnen is really bad at remembering faces, and SQ's longer hair is enough to make him not recognize her as having the same face as Manon. That or the spares plus Manon are not meant to have identical faces. She looks just different enough to avoid sending Remnen panicking. I mean, that's fair enough. I don't think we ever see Manon's face. She's always hidden. But I don't know. They're clones, right? Or maybe he does recognize her, but is trying to play it cool as long as she doesn't confront him, hoping somehow that she won't recognize him for some reason. I don't know. Dude's always panicking. He's always panicking. Like, legitimately, I think I would have to go back to try and find episodes where there's Remnen and no SQ to see if he's ever not sitting under the table during a meeting. Because if there is, that would imply he's panicking every episode or every loop where he is there with SQ, but is otherwise fine. Actually, no, I'm going to look real quick right now because we can find the one where Jonas was a Gnosia, where he was watching the game between Shigemichi and Jonas, right? Because he wasn't freaking out there. And if there's an SQ in that one, yeah, I can't remember which one that was. That was this one, right? Was that Loop 9? Because Loop 9 does not have SQ, and I don't believe Remnen was freaking out there. And not for nothing, there's no Kakushra there either. So it could be in a state where. Sorry, I apologize if I forgot to leave that open. I'm looking at Loop 9 right now, though, if you want to look at the board in your own time. There could be a state where if there is Remnen, but no Kakushra or SQ, Remnen is fine. Because, let's see, that's Remnant's first in Loop 9. SQ is there in Loop 10. No Remnant in 11. There's SQ in Loop 12. SQ in Loop 13. No Remnant in 14. And we're about to hit 15. So yeah, the only time I can remember Remnant being present and no SQ and especially no Kakushra, Remnant seemed fine. So that might be a state-based mechanic. Remnant and Manon both have names ending in non. I won't say whether that's important or not, but I will add on to it that Remnant's home planet, the one of only AI, is called Kanan 579, spelled slightly different but also sounds similar. Bonus, it's likely from the biblical location Canaan, which I think was kind of Promised Land. Other biblical allusions in Gnosia include Levi being like the great sea monster Leviathan. I don't know about that. Levi is a common name amongst media. I hope we get to see Kanan at some point like we did Vumo or Earth in this episode. There's still a lot of mystery surrounding some of Remnant's origins. Currently, based on nothing but imagination, I've been imagining Canaan as an icy planet, maybe once used for mining or something, but no longer used by humans as it's intolerably cold. I'm assuming because you're thinking of keeping the servers cold? I don't know. You could easily go Coruscant with that, just a planet bristling with or actually, if you're familiar with Iserlon from Legend of Galactic Heroes, there's no reason to imagine it as Iserlon. But if I'm thinking a high-tech sci-fi AI planet, I mean, Iserlon's not high-tech sci-fi, whatever, but look it up, you might understand where I'm coming from here. On the weird boob camera angles, believe it or not, the booby stuff is mostly anime additions. Like, there was some boob stuff in the game, the character designs, and 2 short shower CGs, one with Comet, which got adapted to that scene in episode 4 where Chippy is on the treadmill in the gym, and she walks in with only a towel on, and one with Gina. Most people never see Gina's because it's buried in her romance event, but shows up in this episode. But due to the visual novel format, they couldn't show that much. Arguably, the anime at least makes it consistent rather than 1 or 2 instances out of nowhere, but does feel childish to me. I guess it's personal taste, though. I mean, I covered it in my notes, so you've already heard my opinion. Since the first episode had a bunch of booby SQ stuff in it, but then it got dialed way back in subsequent episodes, me and my friends speculated it'd be a fun, subtle way to hint as to when SQ was adorable little 1-year-old SQ. Sorry, you made me read that and I didn't realize what I was doing. Or Manon, but I guess episode 11 threw that theory out the window, so she's definitely SQ then. Also on this topic, in an interview, the character designer, Kudari, said she had to keep pushing back on revisions to Gina's anime design that made her more sexy because Kudari felt it was out of character for Gina. In reference to me saying that seeing trans characters in the shower is like a trope, what are you reading? This might be a case of a few prominent examples in shallow reading pool. Plus, I just think using nudity as a way of revealing the truth with someone's body is, not great. So even a few examples stuck in my mind in a negative way. I mean, again, I already expressed this in my note, so you've got my opinion on this before I started reading your thing. Most recent example I can think of is the villain manga, teen romance based on the Vocaloid song, but other ones include Yurieto, gothic mystery manga, and They Were 11, shoujo sci-fi thriller, which ironically, despite being really old, is actually a tamer example. I mean, I think I've talked about wanting to watch They Were 11 at some point, even though I recently had a bunch of slots open up and I didn't add it there. I think based on the element that it feels like They Were 11, based on my enjoyment of Infinite Rivals and this show, I think. Anyway, there's also adjacent stuff, like a certain Danganronpa. I don't know what I was about to say. A certain dangerous character. A certain Danganronpa character who I know is not trans, but was living as a girl until their secret gets revealed, which isn't in a shower scene, / doesn't have on-screen nudity, but still has a scene of their truth being revealed when their dead body is felt up. That is already a weird sentence. When their dead body is felt up. Danganronpa, man. I never watched any of it. I know the bear thing. That's about it. I understand some of this is because anime manga is a visual medium, and a scene where someone walks in on someone getting changed is more dramatic than it coming up in a conversation, but it's still not my favorite way of doing things. I mean, that happens in real life and stuff too. A lot of 80s comedies in the US, let's say. Shout out to the edgelord grimdark manga Fire Punch for instead using a random background character's telepathy to reveal a character's transness. Can't say I've seen that anywhere else. I don't remember that. I've read all of Fire Punch. I think I busted through that in 24 hours. Because once I got to the guy arriving at town and finding out what they've been doing to survive in the absence of food, and then, the fire that doesn't go out, I couldn't put it down. And then it was like, oh, I want to know what's going on with the VHS. Was probably the person you're talking about, by the way. I just couldn't put it down, and I liked the ending. I know some people have a problem with that sort of thing. I liked the ending. I would love to see Fire Punch made into an anime. I've said it plenty of times. Put down One Punch Man. You're fucking it up. Make the other thing. Gina crying for her mother I like this scene, but it is funny we essentially just start on a flashback of a child getting lost in a supermarket. Yeah, I mean, again, kind of noted that already. Is Gina going to be our main character now? Alas, only for this episode, but I do think it interesting that the whole core, we've been in a very strict Yuri point of view, but this episode switched to Gina. I mean, it switched to Gina at the beginning anyway. I wonder if they'll show us perspectives of other characters like Setsu. I mean, I, of course, would love to get the perspective of Rakio, because I would love to know what the fuck he's thinking. Sorry, what the fuck they're thinking every time that they leap to a conclusion. Because so many times they're wrong, and also they die immediately. You could, if you wanted to give us a Rakio-centric episode, literally all of their loops. All of their loops would be one episode, because it would be day one, day one, day one, day two, day one, day one, day one, day two. Like, you wouldn't get very far. If Rakio really was the joke that I made before, if Rakio had the silver key, like he had another, it's been 2 weeks, gotta get it back in my head. If Rakio had a third silver key, they would not know what the fuck is going on. They're never around long enough to learn anything about anybody. What does Alicosia mean? Gina mentioned it way back in episode 2. It's the name of a dangerous region of space the ship has to travel through, asteroid belt or something. Okay, I think later they state there's just a lot of debris like magnetic field stuff. Yeah, I just don't remember them saying the word Alicosia. Disbelief that Otome can stand without her cart/wheelchair. I don't think she could move around like that at all the time, but if you look up beluga whales, they're really muscular from all the swimming they do. I mean, but she also has a room that is just filled with, I guess, water. We only see it in the time freeze, but she's floating around there in midair. So assumingly it's not something she wants to do. Standing up, I mean. The character is running with the assumption that no human would be stupid enough to falsely claim a role. It would be funny if one loop was lost due to someone being stupid like that and everyone being too nice and assuming Gnosia are a certain level of competent. But based on the Core 2 trailer, I didn't see that, I don't think. I think this is mainly setting up that the engineer false claims are going to start getting more complicated than this guy says he's an engineer and that guy says he's an engineer, so one of them is Gnosia. We've had a few episodes now of them sidestepping the werewolf games for character stuff, and as much as I love the characters, it'd be fun for them to show off more complex setups and solutions than just self-sabotaging Gnosia or getting lucky day one. I just hate seeing Otome uncomfortable. Good news, Otome's line when you select her for cold sleep in game is, "It looks like I'm getting sent off to cold sleep. I like the cold, so I'll be okay." Belugas in the wild live in Arctic waters, so they're very used to the cold and have a big layer of blubber, meaning Otome is probably quite safe. Well, aside from being Gnosia. Except for, again, the element that Rakio has already proposed, that cold sleep is a 50-50 live or die situation. So, even if they like the cold, by the way, not conscious for it, so they're not going to enjoy it, they could still die. Gina stepping off the ship, plus Levi recognizing it as now Gnosia-free versus episode 2 when Gina and Yuri did a spacewalk and Levi didn't notice. So the spacewalk is anime only, unlike Gina's sacrifice, so that plot hole didn't exist in-game. My best guess for the difference is that Levi just isn't scanning the ship at all times, so only detected the difference in Gnosia presence because Gina pointed it out. Well, I mean, based on what you guys have already told me, Levi doesn't scan the ship at all times, despite the fact that I say that they should, instead of giving out this energy for rolls and whatnot. You guys have told me that Levi only scans the ship during a warp. But then again, you told me that's what happens in the game, and clearly Levi scans the ship when we freeze somebody, so that's a change already. Yeah, I don't know. It shouldn't matter that one thing is anime only and the other thing is part of the game, because it's all being made for the anime, right? So if you make something specifically for the anime, you should give it as much attention as you're giving the stuff that you're transporting over from the game. I guess this episode is about how we can treat the Gnosia as people. I'd say in game, Gina's sacrifice is an important character moment that sets her apart from all the others. I like this episode, but it would have been more impactful had we not already seen characters like Chippy and Sha Ming turn themselves in. Most Gnosia are like Yuri or Comet, willing to kill humans to survive. Hell, in-game, Gina says as Gnosia, she feels fine with killing people, as it just comes off naturally to her. It's just the lying she hates. Though I think having her hate all aspects of being Gnosia makes sense too, I'm not bothered by that change. Many even enjoy it or get a confidence boost. Chippy and Sha Ming do get moody. Chippy describes the Gnosia as being like prey hunted by humans, and Sha Ming is, well, you saw how emo he got in episode 9 and 10. But in-game, both of them still fight to survive until the bitter end. This is why I've been complaining so much about the romance stuff. It's not like I hate romance or boobs. It's just the anime doing 4 love events back to back really weakens what makes them special. And having just Gina or just SQ or even just Sha Ming, if we had to, would have really made their connection to Yuri feel more earned than this. Like, is it okay to pick up girls in a time loop vibe they've created where Yuri is some kind of love master, breaking hearts everywhere they go? I mean, I did cover this already, that I find it acceptable because of the time loop conceit, that he's not settling down with somebody and they're not all gathering up on him because it's different time loops. Um, I don't know. Kind of like the element of, if you've ever watched Groundhog's Day, because obviously I think anybody who's playing a time loop game probably is familiar with Groundhog's Day. The element of Bill Murray in that movie having to learn, I could basically do anything with any of these people, and then realize it's just not it's an untoward thing to do. He has his own sense of morality. There's also just no point in it, and he gets bored. You know, it's it's a thing, and I wouldn't expect Yuri to be any better than Bill Murray, I guess. I don't know. Also in game, Gina's sacrifice is unrelated to her love event, and while I think connecting it makes sense from a writing standpoint, at the same time, I've seen people elsewhere on the internet talking about how Gina did it because of how much she loved Yuri, which I don't feel is true. Romance tends to lead people to people to flattening everything they do or want is because they love X. And that's another reason why it bristles me, I think. You could take it as she's doing it because she hates her existence. But is that better? The element that she's depressed because she is Nausea and she hates lying, and I guess you've already indicated she doesn't hate killing, weirdly enough, but she hates being lied to, and she hates lying to others to the degree that she's willing to sacrifice herself. I mean, granted, it is a different perspective than one that we've gotten before from any of the characters, but I don't know. I'd rather think, I don't know. I could go either way on it now that I'm thinking about it. I hope in Core 2 we see Yuri just attempt some stuff and fail, because I think they've been a bit too successful lately, and some setbacks would be good for them. I don't know. Every so often we do get a fail, but it's usually like a total fail. Like Kakushra. Kakushra just waking everyone up and killing them, or the slime event, or, sometimes Yuri just fails. Like, it's not that it hasn't happened. We're only 14 loops in, and I'd say, we're becoming more and more successful. But what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 failed loops out of 14? It's not a bad metric if you're looking for failure. I disagree that this episode should have been swapped to the last episode because there's some plot stuff I think works better as a core cliffhanger. SQ set some stuff up too, but it was more threads we'd already started following. But I get why you feel this way, because I think the emotional ending landed better the first time. Well, yeah, there's definitely the SQ emotional thing, but I think setting up Manon as a constant possible villain in the background versus whatever whatever Yuriko is doing with the cyberization stuff, or cyberization as a total thing, as possibly being applied to the Gnosia. The Gnosia have been ever present. Discovering what they are or aren't doing is just a through line, I think, between everything. Manon, however, is this weird thing that's only come up like 2 or 3 times. So further developing her and then leaving her as a bookmark on the end of the core, I thought still would have been way more impactful. Because SQ's, don't fall for SQ, and then her warning about Manon is much more ominous than cyberization's not what you think it is. Because, not for nothing, we've only just learned the word cyberization in the same episode. Cyberization needs more time to develop. Manon has been developing, and then punctuating that, I feel like would have been a better core ender. Autosub saying World War changes? Yeah, that should be every time the world line changes, anything is possible. It got confused because World War, Sekai Tai Sen, is a more common term than World Line, Sekai Sen. And then from a second posting that you did, the consent form. The waves of time erode the flesh, marking the end of mortal life, yet you continue to shine with an unchanging light. Now is the time to cut off those bonds and embark upon the ocean of cyberization, where infinite knowledge and eternal freedom unfold. There, death and fear cease to exist, only the pure expanse of consciousness remains. Your thoughts will lose all limitations and every boundary will dissolve. As a chosen one, declare here now, you are ready, ? To transcend the flesh and become pure soul. You are a special being possessing the qualifications to transcend the confines of the flesh and attain cyberization. Do you consent to your cyberization? That really reminds me of something. I think my favorite episode of Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, there was the episode Brain Scratch. We had Dr. Landis, the souls that God has given us, our spirits which found a way to swim through the immense network and live in the infinite space. Is it not the human body, a mere shell, a form of existence all too small and weak for consciousness, with such vast reach and potential? Tell me, why do you think people believe in God? Because they want to. It's not easy living in such an ugly and corrupt world. There's no certainty and nothing to hope for. People are lost, so they reach out. Don't you get it? God didn't create humans. No, it's humans that created God. I can't find the direct quote that I mainly think of when reading the form that you put here, but Brain Scratch has the whole upload your brain basically thing, except it's fake. But they have this like same kind of speech there, upload your brain into the infinite sea of electrons. All right, next up though we have J Knot, also from Alacosia. The silver key wouldn't leave its host until all knowledge is filled. No one can swipe it. The thing people see in Yuri's hand is like a hologram. I mean, you say that, it literally travels through his body into his arm. It's like a thing that's inside of him, traveling out. I don't see that as a hologram. I mean, granted, all of you people probably have game knowledge that I don't have, but I'm saying from an anime-only perspective, this thing looks like the thing. SQ looks different enough from Manon, so Remnon doesn't notice, is understandable. SQ knows how to look unique. Again, the element, though, that we don't really see a lot of Manon other than back shots and darkness. It's hard to tell that they actually look different. We have seen Gina and Xia Ming play their best as Gnosia. Gina in episode 8, Xia Ming in episode 9. Gina simply really hates lying. Yuri unintentionally reminded Gina of her past in this episode. She has a breakdown. Otherwise, she still wants to live as Gnosia and try her best. And Xia Ming, with partners like Jonas and SQ, might get him not motivated, and they might tell him to go in his room if he doesn't want to lie. When he is motivated, like in episode 9 with Yuri and Comet, then he would still try his best to live as human or as Gnosia. None of them have any problems with killing humans, so they don't mention that. It isn't a question, they just do. I don't know why everyone's telling me about people's willingness to kill humans. I don't think I've ever questioned it, other than the fact that when we're there, I guess I have questioned it, never mind. It's the element that they all speak of high morality, and then when we see them in the time freeze, they're all like, who are we gonna kill? It's weird. Levi says she couldn't activate the maintenance with Gnosia on board, and Gina says the magnetic field happened in this area, so if they lower ship shields, the ship will be impacted by debris. No one can confirm definitively until all Gnosia are in cold sleep. Everyone would assume Gnosia are still on board until actual confirmation anyway. Gina simply made it so the chances of Otome and Gina being Gnosia are the most obvious and highest. Levi only accepts when Gina says it, and the crew are surprised because a Gnosia is saving everyone. The werewolf game is a compromise, so Levi could accept when the decision is agreeable, reasonable, or negotiable enough. Okay? The warp scanned the numbers of Gnosia in the whole ship, including the freezer, so the numbers would always be the same. Levi does always tell everyone the numbers. The lights scan if Gnosia presence disappear on the ship. They exclude the freezer. The success and result of the voting always be shown after a warp. There's always one off-screen warp before day 1. That is why they know of the numbers of Gnosia. DQE is a very old ship, and they can't be sure that wouldn't be an accident with the Gnosia on board. Gnosia affect technology to an extent. Gnosia, Gina herself, doesn't count as being outside the ship until being far away. And imagine if the humans don't know when they win immediately. LOL. It isn't very werewolf. Everything all makes sense, to be honest. I guess the element is, and this is something that I brought up to JL before they started posting all of their stuff in the format that they now have, is that I don't know why you're telling me certain things. Because you might assume that I automatically realize why you're saying a thing as like, oh, I said this, that's why you're saying that. For example, you telling me that Gnosia Gina doesn't count as being outside the ship until she's far away, that doesn't make me think about anything I said. Now all I'm imagining is, well, what if Gnosia Gina gets off the ship? They do a scan, determine there's no Gnosia on board, we're all in the clear, Gnosia Gina gets back on the ship. It just feels like there's loopholes now. You're saying everything makes sense. I disagree. There's a bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to you guys, because again, you guys are game players, I'm assuming. If you only look at this from the anime, sorry, I don't know what happened. My voice is weird today. I haven't said anything. I'm like biting my tongue every time I talk. That's come back again. There's things in the anime that don't make sense from a logical perspective that you just kind of have to wipe off the board because it's based on a game, and in the game you can only make choices that the game lets you make. So when you give the characters the free will that they would have in an anime, sometimes those choices just don't make sense. But again, it's not really a problem because we're in a time loop sort of thing. So ultimately, we only care what happens to the people we leave behind because the morality, I guess empathy, basically what Setsu has told us before. These people have to continue on living after we leave them behind element. Again, a more sadistic person could go through this just fucking everything up. Anyway, on to our final note, or comment rather. Ash, also from Alacosia, obviously. Small correction here. Jonas said that Stella was a combat maid, not Kakushra. Immediately after, Levi tells Yuri not to worry about what Jonas was saying, claiming he's insane. Fair enough. Yeah, I recognize that I made the mistake of saying that the wrong doll, I don't know what to say here, is the combat maid. You know, let me just double check my board, make sure I didn't write that down wrong. Stella. Yeah. I have Stella 6 combat maid, question mark? Although I don't know that that Levi saying that Jonas is insane means anything. Not for nothing, Jonas is the one that had Levi installed, remember? So anything that Levi says is Jonas, Levi, Jonas, Levi, right? I don't even know, my hand's still on the window. I have everything covered up here. Jonas owns the ship, installs Levi. Levi, I mean, despite being an AI, at some point has programming, and that programming is probably controlled by Jonas. Jonas says a thing, Levi says something about what Jonas says. So at some point, you have to wonder how far up Jonas being insane affects Levi in its installation. Anyway, as I said, that's all the comments. We've done the board, we've done my notes. So let's go ahead and hop on in and see what we get from the first half of the second core.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I saw the moving stars and I thought, oh, are we starting right from the end of last episode? Or we're moving on, like, literally from there. Back to Setsu? Yeah.
どうしたらいいんだろう。どうしたらみんなが幸せになれるのだろう。こんなことを繰り返さずに済むようにな
I
る
don't know, we need to look at Sha Ming.
それともこれが
Did I just not feel anything for Sha Ming in that scene that I was supposed to?
何度繰り返しても誰かが必ず犠牲になるしか。有利。節
You know, I have always thought that she's in the opening, passed out on the floor, and when is that ever gonna be a thing? Or why is she like that? Or why are they like that? See, that, right there. Also, I have to admit right now, somewhat disappointed that we don't have a new opening for the second core. Although, to be fair, we had another ending at some point during the line. So it's not impossible that we couldn't get another opening. I don't know. I'm harping on that. Setsu about to be out of the loop? Because we know that they've been in it for a lot longer. They could be finished. Could be an element of their consciousness leaving the loop. And now it's just going to be Yuri by himself looping. That's my guess. I mean, I could be way off the mark here. This could literally just be the ship's being gassed by somebody for all we know. But not for nothing, it's been hinted at by the opening. Literally the first shot of the opening cinematic. Setsu laying on the floor. Was there somebody new? No, I guess not. Sorry, for some reason I saw the shot of everybody in the voting chamber. Not the voting chamber, the discussion chamber. I thought I saw somebody new on the far right-hand side. Maybe it was Remnant, I don't know. Or my eyes playing tricks on me. I just thought I saw a really bulky, shirtless dude. I mean, I think I've said, like, from episode 3, episode 2, that I think they were in a relationship before the ship.
会議に行く途中で意識を失ったんだ。でも大丈夫。寝てる間にレビに調べてもらったけど、単なる疲労だって。会議に行く途中。じゃあ、行かなくちゃ。会議もう始まるんだろ。会議の時間は遅らせてもらった。
Didn't it before.
脱がせたのはステラだから心配しないで。私はハンだって言っただろ。
Yeah, but you're capable of love. It seems like that's been a possibility.
僕がグノーシアの可能性もあるから、話すのが嫌ならそれでもいいけど。私がグノーシアの可能性も。だとしたら、こんな手の込んだことしないか。会議前にわざと倒れるなんて。
What, Gnosia can't pass out?
ユーリはククルシカのことをどのくらい知ってる？ククルシカ？私はループを繰り返すうちに次第にククルシカがいる世界線に行くことが多くなった。多分ククルシカに関してまだ得ていない情報があるってことなんだと思うんだけど。
I mean, I'm still not sure why the psychopath Kukusha thing happened, or how it's tied to Manon.
それはユーリも知っているのか。あと特定条件下で暴走し、この船をめちゃくちゃにする。それは僕も経験した。多分ククルシカには大きな秘密がある。それは確かなんだ。だからループの旅に調べ続けたんだけど。
I guess the difficulty therein that Kukusha can't talk.
ジョナスにいくら聞いても出てくるのは、かつて愛したアーリャという女性とククルシカが似ている話ばかり。分かったことといえば、ククルシカが暴走するトリガーはレムナンということくらいだ。レムナン？ああ、ククルシカがああなるときは必ずレムナンがいる。
Unless that has something to do with the AI planet. And Kakushra's AI comes from there.
もう数百もループしているというのにね。分かったのはそれ
I would have started asking Levi about it.
情けないよ。数百。いつまで続くんだろうね。
Learn to hack. At least somebody on the ship knows how to hack. Learn from them in one loop. Hack Levi the next loop so you can get the information off of Levi.
会議中止になったって。え？節の体調を考慮してレビが1日だけ猶予をくれるって。そんなこと。
You mean a day for the Gnosia to kill somebody?
だから今日は少し気分転換をしようよ。グノーシアのことを忘れて。そういうわけにはいかない。1日遅れればそれだけグノーシア汚染者の。有利。
Come on, Setsu, let's go play 3D chess.
でも正しさだけじゃ心が壊れてしまう。有利。行くよ。
Sorry, my subtitles were covering it. Is Yuri wearing fuck me pumps?
行くからそんなに引っ張らないで。貯水タンク。ああ、飲料水はこの後ろ過するらしくて、ここには食料用の合成魚を放してある。
Yeah, we see them every episode.
釣り？ああ、
I used to think that they were hints for who the Gnosia was.
猫が喜ぶからって。
Apparently I'm way off on that
サー
one.
ミンに怒られていたけど、やったことないな。実は僕も。え？競争だよ。どっちが先に釣れるか。
Well, with no bait, that's gonna be hard.
全然釣れない。本当に魚いるの？って言ってたけど。いる。もう少し深くだ。深く。でも合成魚って。節巻き上げて。
So I'm guessing that there's a loop in the game, but it's just all mini games. Otome? Yeah. Is this the fish tank, or are you just fishing in Otome's room? Also, why would Otome bite into a hook?
びっくりしたの。
どうしてタンクの中なんかに。
お魚さんがいっぱいだったので泳ぎたいなって我慢できなくなって、そしたら何かキラキラしてるのが前に来て。
口は大丈夫？
あ、平気なの。それよりなんでもないのです。では。
I mean, why wouldn't you ask the question? I would just assume the question was, what are you doing here?
映画でも見ようか。どうだった？正直言うとありえないかな。
Unless they're hiding something from Setsu.
つまらないというわけじゃないけど。
This does have the feel of your last day, doesn't it? That Levi may have uncovered something in the scan, and she's dying or something. They're dying or something.
でもそうすると主人公の探偵が活躍できないというか、そもそも一般人にこういった作戦を委ねてしまうことに問題があると思う。フィクションだよ。それは分かってるけど。
さすが地球時代を代表する傑作映画。しみるな。
重道いたんだ。
おいおい、それよりお前らなんで手繋いでないんだよ。
So it's gonna be like the date episode where everyone else in the crew is going to have little experiences with them along the way. Again, I swear, they were a thing before the ship. This is the cafe they met at. And not one of y'all has ever commented on my theory about that either. I'm not asking you to. It's the note that I've noticed.
そうなのかな。単に義務感なのかもしれない。軍人としての。 それでも立派だと思う。ここはユーリが選んだの？あ、うん。そうだよ。説が好きかなって思って。
Because you picked it before in the past.
どこかのループで私がこの景色選んでいるの見たんだろう。バレたか。でも嬉しいよ。そういうの覚えていてくれるだけで。ループ
Does that indicate that they're not in the same loops?
あの時会ったユーリも今ここにいるユーリも私と同じように
By which I mean that
繰り返している。
that is a future loop for them, past loop for Yuri.
そう思うだけで元気になれる。僕もだ。
ゆうりさん、せつさん。
乙女。そろそろ二人でコールドスリープのカプセルに入れって言うんだろ。え？そのくらい気づかないとでも思ったか？
Oh, there you go. Like I said, this felt like a last day scenario.
二人でコールドスリープになるってユーリがみんなに言って会議を免除してもらったんだろ。説。こんなことは二度としないでほしい。すまない。説の意に反するのは分かっていたんだけど、私とユーリ以外のみんなにとってはここが唯一の世界なんだ。次があるからって好きに行動していいことにはならない。
I mean, it'd be better for me if they both turned out to be Gnosia.
ありがとう。ユーリには貸しばかり増え
Because that would make the double sacrifice even better for at least Setsu.
最初に銀の鍵を僕に渡して助けてくれたのは説なんだから。それは本当に良かったことだったのかな。
Oh, I thought she was about to say that hasn't happened. I thought they were about to say that hasn't happened yet. I apologize, my brain.
説を元気にするためにこう言っておくよ。この借りは必ず返してもらう。うん。ユーリ、ん？手を。
I would love it if at the end Yuri is the one that gives it to Setsu. So that it's like a time loop sort of thing. It's always the same key traveling through just the same two people.
気がついたんだね。どう？属性学習は少しは理解できた？説。ククルシカは乗っている。そういう名前は乗船名簿にはないはずだけど。そっか。おそらく僕の銀の鍵はククルシカじゃなく、まだ別に欲している情報があるんだ。でも
There's probably still like a lot of information to figure out. Besides like one
説
thing.
のためにも。じゃあ会議を始めるよ。ククルシカが何なのか直接つながる情報は僕にもない。けど情報の断片をつなぎ合わせれば真実はわかるはずだ。
You really think that Yuri would be able to focus up on the meetings during the meetings parts? Considering how much extra time they have to think about everything else during the non-meeting parts.
何？
おいおい、のんきにおねんねか？
あ、もしかして SQ ちゃんに見とれちゃった？ユーリの意見を聞きたいって。
それは。
Well, that worked out well.
会議の時は会議に集中して。
Just thinking to myself, what am I even a mark for these loops? The last one, I only know 2 other people that were there.
なんとかやり過ごして考える時間を作らないと。
Again, focus on the meeting part now. Think about all this Kakusha stuff after, in the time before the warp.
説の言う通り、レムナンがククルシカの暴走のトリガーだとしたら、二人の間には何か関係があるのは間違いない。けど、この二人に関係する情報は皆無だ。
It's also kind of stupid to me that Yuri's always doodling. These are notes he can't take with him.
レムナンはかつて SQ と
多分ループによってはママの移植が成功した S q ちゃんもいると思うんだよね。レムニャンが恐れていたのはそっちなのかも。
違う。
Well,
関わりがあったのは S q の母親マナ。そういえば
but she's a clone. She's not
飼わ
a
れてたんです。
cyborg.
ある人のペットとして。いやどうして。
どうしてわかるでしょ。レムニャンのことが大好きだからね。
レムナンはマナンのペットとして飼われ、ひどい仕打ちを受けていた。そして
その顔よ。
Do you think Aria? Jonas's wife. Was Jonas's wife
耳
Manan?
に残ってるんだけどね。語話表現がきついシーンが多いのです。
マナンとレムナンの間で作られたのか。
Sorry, I haven't put a lot of brain power into this. Obviously, I will have to
だからレム
now.
ナンが S q を恐れている世界線があったのか。ああ、それで今までのすべてに説明がつく。ただククルシカとは何の接点もない。
Oh, wow.
でも
Said she was
僕が経験
almost
した
done.
世界線でレムナンが言っていたことがあるんだ。
違います。でも同じなんです。僕を見る目が、その笑顔が。
ククルシカがマナンっていうこと。だとすると説明はつくんだ。
But it doesn't make
それ
sense,
に
though.
S q はマナンの意識を移植するための器。ということはマナンは意識体の状態だったんだ。それが何らかの手違いでククルシカに。
Is it the worlds where SQ isn't Manan and Kukushka is present? That Kukushka is the Manan in those timelines?
つまり移植が行われたのはおそらく1年以内。その間にジョナス、ククルシカと S q の間に何らかの接点があればと思ったんだけど、なかったんだね。ああ、まったく。
セツ様、ユーリ様、まもなく空間転移となります。部屋にお戻りください。
Again, the connection might be the wife.
また何か気づいたことがあったら伝えるよ。行こう。ユーリ。ん？ありがとう。でもむやみに教えるのはやめて。世界
Gnosia?
線が変わればあらゆる可能性があるのだから。
Yeah, I think as Setsu, I don't think I'd appreciate it if you gave me the final piece of information and I got stuck in the worlds of Gnosia.
わかった。ループした。クノーシアに襲われたのか。
Yeah, like I said,
属性学習は大体のことは分かった。
you don't want to get stuck in the world line, or you'll be stuck as a Gnosia.
やっぱりいくら相手が説でも気安く
So,
相談す
the
る
thought process I was having is, what if Kukushka?
一人で
She's a doll, she's not a clone, never mind.
直接聞いたところで何かが分かるとは思えないけど、ククルシカがいる世界線に来たということは。
Because again, what if Arya was a clone of Manan? Like SQ.
私はループを繰り返すうちに次第にククルシカがいる世界線に行くことが多くなった。そうだ、銀の鍵はただループさせるわけじゃない。
There's also the element there's a doll version of Kukushka and then the cyborg robot version of Kukushka.
説がククルシカのいる世界線にばかり行くようになったのは、ククルシカが説が知るべき重要な情報を持っているから。だとしたら僕もそうなっている可能性がある。
ユーリ様？
どうした？記憶喪失でまだ頭がぼんやりしているのか？
いや、大丈夫だ。大体の状況は理解できたよ。会議を始めよう。
本当に大丈夫か？
気にするな。演技かもしれないんだし。
じゃあ続けるよ。
At some level, they technically are.
冷静に一つずつ思う。
Damn it, Rakio.
ククルシカが暴走してから、
Again,
僕がループした世界線に誰がいる
I could make a supercut. of all the episodes that Rakio is in, and how long they actually survive per loop.
僕がループした世界線にいつもいたのは一人。そうだ。なぜ気づかなかった。最初から怪しかったじゃないか。
Really? Really? Because if you break that down, the other person that's been present for every world line that Kakushra's in is you.
そうだ。ジョナスでもない。SQ でもない。できるとしたら。天皇か。聞いたことない。一度だけ。以前開発された技術。それを可能に。
So I must have either talked over the connection here, but I don't know how Yuriko has any connection to this. That's some weird animation.
もう少し知恵があると思っていましたが。それで答えは出ましたか。なぜマナンの意識をククルシカに。おう、私がやったと。電脳化の知識を持ち、ククルシカが人間でないことも知っていた。君以外に考えられない。仮にそうだとして目的は。
So just get another power that she has.
つながっている気がする。ククルシカのことも、僕がループすることになったのも、そもそもこのグノーシア騒動が起きたのも。ごまかすな。ごまかしてなどおりません。
I mean, she asked you if you figured out the solution when you walked in the room.
この身は星船からの逃亡者。落ちた巫女に何ができるというのです。それはただし全てがつながっているという推測は悪くはありません。確かに今ここで起きていること、全ての勉強は一つ。いいでしょう。褒美に教えてあげましょう。真実を。
Damn it, now I have to doubt everything. Here's the problem. The problem is that facts that we tend to learn from a Gnosia during a Gnosia loop, I mean from a loop where the person is a Gnosia, the fact that they lie tends to mean that the information doesn't hold true. Sometimes. Remember the first time that Stella was a Gnosia, the I love you Yuri thing. Complete lie, never happened again. Yuriko being a Gnosia and telling us the truth of everything, is that going to be true? Like, for me, it's the element that Yuri walked into the room and said, "Finally, you understand." That was unprompted, leading me to believe that Yuriko has some lean in to the looping mechanic or something, or is carrying over knowledge from different loops, or what I keep saying about what if there's a third looper. Technically, I guess this could be conceded that also the element she introduced the fact that she is a fugitive, I guess, from the ship, a rogue priestess, as it were. God, are we going to get an after credit scene, or are we not? No, we are not. Disappointing. Sorry, there's just an element that something was revealed there that I think I either missed, didn't put together, or talked over, which I apologize if that was the case. Let me think if I can put this together on my own. We have Arya, which is maybe nothing. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what he drew. Maybe he drew Kakushra in Jonas. Broken Line. Remnon SQ Manon? He is accusing her of transferring Manon into Kakushra, which is what indicating that Manon has hired Yuriko to do the transfers for her every time the body dies, and that's how she gets transferred into another clone. But something must happen that interrupts that, because why, if it was a intentionally willful transfer, would she not go into the body that she wants? And then Yuriko has to transfer her into Kakushra. Remnant is a pet. Why would they intentionally be going after Remnant? AI planet? Does that mean Manon is an AI? Well, it can't be, because SQ is a living body. That's the confusion I'm having there. Kakushra is a doll, essentially. SQ is a living clone, meaning that if Manon is being transferred into either of them, is Manon like a cyborg? Is Manon an artificial intelligence that can be downloaded into a flesh body and a artificial body? I suppose Stella is going to be some sort of evidence, one way or another, of like Levi being an artificial intelligence and Stella being, well, no, she seems cybernetic or robotic, not like flesh. Maybe that's something I should have been paying attention to and I didn't fully get. I'm really gonna have to spend some brain power on this one between episodes. I think I'm failing something here. Because I feel like if I had thought about this longer, and clearly I just didn't put any thought into it, I would have like a whole board thing. Like, okay, here's Arya, her relationship to Jonas. There's Jonas's relationship to Kakushra. Over here we have Manon, we have SQ, and Remnan, and their relationship to one another. Is there any ties that bind these things together? And I feel like that's what Yuri was doing on his board there. And the little line through the line connecting them, there is no bind that connects them together. Because in my mind, I'm trying to focus on the connection between possibly Arya and Manon. Because we know that Kakushra is essentially Jonas chasing after the memory of Arya. Now, is that just him making a poor decision that has nothing to do with Arya from the aspect of what's going on in the show, right? Like, he sees a doll that looks like his dead wife, but in fact has nothing to do with anything going on, right? That's his that's his event that causes a thing, but that event has nothing to do with this event. It's just the inspiration for it. That could be. Again, I have no reason to believe that there's no possibility that Manon couldn't have been Arya at some point, just fucking around doing whatever. I just don't see, based on what Yuri knows, I just don't see how he made the jump to Yuriko cyberization. Wait, is that the idea? That when Manon dies, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Netflix show Upload. The idea that a guy gets into a car accident, is going to die, and then has his brain uploaded into an artificial afterlife, right? Is the idea that every time Manon dies, she gets cyberized, and the cyberized version of her is then transmitted into a new body, and that for some reason, sometimes that cyberized version of her is then transferred into Kakushra? Because I could see that if I don't know, maybe I'm trying to put together the idea that cyberization would allow you to be transferred into a flesh body or a doll body. I don't know why. The idea that maybe it's because you came from flesh that you could be transferred back into flesh. But the fact is that you're programming or data or whatever, that you could be put into a doll too. I guess that's the element that I'm trying to come up with, the idea of the connection between Levi and Stella, is that Levi is a AI, digital data, being put into a living body, but then Stella's not technically a living body, Stella's a robot, a doll, right? So I guess that's as far as I'm getting right here. I know that I'm rambling, and those of you that know the answer are just going to be more upset how slow I'm getting there or moving further away. I'll spend some time between episodes to figure it all out. Obviously, I'm going to have thoughts about the first half of the episode and what the hell was going on there. And then we have to figure out how to handle these loops, because we had multiple loops where we just basically barely saw anything. Yeah, I'm just going to come back to notes next time. So, until then, once again, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?